Fun fact about this episode, even though this isn't the first episode of the third season, it's the first episode to air from the third production run, when Al Jean and Mike Reiss took over as showrunners. So that's maybe something for us to explore in this video, I suppose. Hi, I'm Torin, and welcome to Torin Loves The Simpsons. Today we're looking at Season 3, Episode 2, Mr. Lisa Goes to Washington, an episode where Homer gets obsessed with a Reader's Digest magazine he gets randomly in the spam mail, where he learns of an essay contest that Lisa enters, leading to a trip to Washington, D.C. for the essay finals, where Lisa witnesses a congressperson take a bribe, prompting her to write a new essay for the contest exposing him, leading to an immediate and immaculate and perfectly realistic reaction from the US government to expel the perpetrator from his office. Let's dive on in. Let's start with the humor. This episode is notable for providing the name Homer Simpsoy, which I don't know why, but I just absolutely love. But much more importantly, this episode does certainly demonstrate a tonal shift from the previous body of work that I attribute to the change in leadership I mentioned earlier. There's a quality to the humor, the pacing and jokes of the Al Jean, Mike Reiss era that I'd describe as slightly bouncy compared to the graining Simon Brooks material. Not particularly bouncy. We aren't in Season 5 yet by any means. But even late Season 2 usually seems a little stiff and traditional in comparison. We're loosening up and feeling a little more natural and authentic to the times, rather than sounding a little reminiscent of suburban boomers. And that's interesting, because Al Jean and Mike Reiss are also boomers, but I think they did a much better job of capturing a more natural delivery and flow of conversation for the times. One of the characteristics I'm noticing about the new style, which is really just a continuation of a trend that began in the later parts of Season 2, is an increase in the use of quick, punchy jokes. The bank sign showing a slogan of, "We're not a savings and loan," Nelson's 6 white stripes, 7 red stripes, and a hell of a lot of stars, and "If I ever vote, it'll be for him," are the kind of thing I'm talking about. And I feel there's already a pretty noticeable increase in the prevalence of this kind of joke, and I like it. There's also the ragtime musician at the contest, whom I find to be an absolute delight. He's apparently a parody of a couple specific real-life people, but I'm not familiar with either of them, and the delivery on its own of his portrayal is just really nice. We do have a pretty serious lull towards the end, where a bunch of plot stuff happens, and then the episode ends on a pretty weak punchline. And honestly, I need to talk about that plot stuff before I can give the humor rating, because it's relevant. Way more relevant than I want it to be. So, as for the plot, most of this episode is really strong. The first 18 minutes and 45 seconds, including the intro sequence, is quite solid. We get a fun prompt to the journey. Lisa's experience through the journey is pretty well done. We have a potentially compelling challenge to the journey. And then where the episode goes with it is depict that the system of US governmental checks and balances and self-checks works flawlessly and is immediately responsive to issues as they come to light. And I guess I can't totally fault the show creators for being naive over 30 years ago, but given the reality we live in, seeing that depiction hurts. I'm not trying to make this a partisan thing either. I have no horse in that race. I think both Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi are horrible. And that's my whole thing. In reality, we have a government filled with incompetence at best and corruption at worst, where districts are gerrymandered to hell and there is no accountability for those who hold public office. In 2020, as the pandemic was just beginning, a bunch of members of Congress did some stock trades that sure look like insider trading using the knowledge they had about COVID before that info went public. And the regulatory response has been lacking. We have super PACs functionally controlling elections and drowning out potential new competitors in the political landscape who lack backing from large corporations. We had a president get impeached for using his position of power to try to get dirt on a political opponent, and the Senate voted not to remove because we're sure he's sorry. Not to mention the other time he got impeached, which is a whole other can of worms. The point I'm making here is that things are pretty fucked up in the United States, and seeing this kind of idealistic depiction of the country I supposedly live in feels like a massive slap to the face. It genuinely, completely ruins the entire episode for me. It ends things on a note that just leaves me feeling rotten inside. So even the things the episode does well really don't count anymore. It sucks because there are a lot of things the episode does well, and I can't really enjoy them because the end of the episode is too upsetting to watch. I'm just gonna dump these ratings and bounce. I don't have anything more to say. Humor gets a B+, plot gets an E, and the episode overall gets an E. Like, subscribe, all that next time we're looking at Season 3, Episode 3, When Flanders Failed. I'll see you in that video. This is the worst episode of the series so far, no doubt about it.